Hey, you guys, I'm Alexandra Harbushka. I'm founder of Life with Herpes. I'm really excited to be back here with this awesome, amazing guest, Caroline Goodner. She's joining us from Austin, Texas, right?
You got it.
Got it. And I'm actually in San Diego. So we are, let's see, East Coast to middle of the country. I always find it fascinating that we can just be anywhere in the world and talking. I find that fascinating. But back to herpes here. I met Caroline probably over a year ago, a little bit over a year ago, and she reached out to me with some amazing research, an amazing product. We're going to get into FemiClear in a little bit. Before I want to just introduce you all to Caroline and talk about herpes. That's why we're here, right? Being diagnosed with herpes, the emotional trauma it causes, the oh my gosh, what do I do now? How do I get through this? How do I get out of this? How do I get through my next outbreak? What happens if I get an outbreak? And let's just get going on it. So, Caroline, I'm excited for you to be here.
I am so excited to be here. Alexandra, thank you so much for having me.
You are welcome. You're welcome. So, let's talk a little bit about your story and how you found herpes. Like, because it's such a unique, like, herpes. Like, no one even wants to say the word herpes. So, how did you get into this like whole herpes world?
I know, but we certainly want to change that. Nobody wants to
Yeah.
talk about it. We want to talk about it. But yeah, so no, I started this company called Organa about 5 years ago, and we started it with this super cool technology. And I say technology, it's really a substrate or an ointment base that is oxygenated olive oil, and it's sort of a proprietary technology. Came out of Italy. We started it in the first aid world, moved to kind of mouth sores, and then we really got into feminine healthcare products. And so we've been, kind of working on products for the FemiClear brand for now 2.5 years. So not that long, but herpes was, kind of the condition that's the newest for us. We've had a product for it for about a year. And
did you just stumble upon it?
we tested this substrate with different formulations against the herpes simplex virus 1 and 2 to just see, was it effective? And so that is what led us into this area. I mean, we were in feminine health, but we really thought, gosh, herpes seems like an underserved condition, and we really wanted to help people with it. And we found out that, what we've got really works for it.
It's such a nice relief to find things that are natural, right?
Yeah.
That are not prescription based. There's something that you can go to a CVS or Amazon and be discreet about it, pick it up, and just like not feel like you're under this like microscope and people are watching you and they go, that's what they have.
Yeah, completely. It's a small little package. You can just sort of sneak out through the checkout line with it, and you don't have to go to the doctor. And so that was, one of the
Huge.
bigger things is not have to get a prescription. We actually believe you should continue your prescription if you're on one, but this helps topically. And so we just, we learned from our consumer research of people who have herpes that they're really not happy with the options that are out there, and people are cobbling together stuff that's like anti-itch or kind of even Tylenol or topicals like cortisone or things like that, all with pretty mediocre satisfaction results. And so we knew that there was a need for better management, and so that's what led us down this path.
Right. And so I know you've had an opportunity to talk to some people that are diagnosed with herpes. I've seen you on social media, and I've seen you talk to people. Is there a story that stands out to you? Is there like a situation that you're like, oh my gosh, this happened and it's been absolutely like, thank goodness we created this product?
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten a lot of reviews and stuff like that where people said, I've been struggling with this. I'm miserable. I don't even come out of my house. I can't even go to the bathroom without having to get in the bathtub. I mean, just all these like people really suffering. And different people obviously experience outbreaks with greater or lesser intensity. But for people who are really debilitated by it, it makes me feel really good. I mean, I know we've heard the, bless you, thank you for creating something that actually really works for me. And that sounds so, I don't mean for it to sound self-promotional. It is honestly like, my heart goes out to people who struggle that much with it. I tend to think that it is on average, a greater emotional burden than it is a physical one, but that we've heard from a lot of people where the physical burden is pretty bad. And there just isn't, hasn't been very much available to people to help them manage when they've got, really painful outbreaks.
Yeah, I was just talking to my community yesterday on our call, and I had a significant amount of people that in our support group calls, and I had a handful that were newly diagnosed, like they got diagnosed that weekend, or like they're still in their first outbreak. And every time I have a new person, they're like, is it going to be like this forever? Like, I couldn't sit down, I couldn't wear jeans, I couldn't go to the bathroom, like I got my period, I couldn't put a tampon, like
Yeah.
I'm always like, no, no. You can relax. It's not going to be like that. Yeah, you'll have some that are painful. I'm not going to lie. It'll be an uncomfortable situation. You're not going to be like thrilled that you have an outbreak. It's not like, yay,
Yeah.
but you're going to be able to wear jeans, you're going to be able to go to the bathroom. You're going to be able to do these things. It's just an uncomfortable situation for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And
The first is the worst. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Armageddon. I ask people like, well, because they always say, well, is it going to be over everything again? I'm like, no, you can relax. It's not going to be this huge outbreak. Now, there's other people that are like, I never had that experience. I haven't even experienced an outbreak, or I just had one little paper cut. Like, I didn't even realize what it was. So for everybody, it is a little bit different. But with that being said, we still don't like getting outbreaks, and we still want to figure out a solution that will be fast acting, or you can feel something happening when you put it on. Maybe it soothes the tingle, or it soothes the pain, or the burning sensation that we have. I mean, that's
Yeah. So yeah, for sure that kind of, a story has really struck me, only because we make this product and we feel good about helping people in that way. But the other ones that just like my heart breaks is when, people really get down on themselves about having it, and that, it just puts so much fear of rejection, fear of, just kind of, it's negative self-talk, right? And I hope that we can help people get past that, and because this is something that you can come to terms with, accept it, and even thrive with it. And so, that journey that people have to go on from first diagnosis to, hey, I'm living with it and it's okay, is a journey that I hope we can, kind of over time shorten and make it, faster, easier. Lots of great resources like you and your groups. That's, what we want to help facilitate too.
Yeah. And well, thank you for that. And the ability, I call it the Eeyore phase. So if we all think of Eeyore, he has the rain cloud over him. He's just kind of ho-humming along, just like, okay, life is this life. Like, here's my rain cloud again. And I was in that phase for 2 years. And I started realizing, all right, I'm turning 30. I want to get married at some point in my life. I potentially want to have a family at some point in my life. And if I stay in this Eeyore phase, either that's not going to happen, or I'm going to attract somebody that is going to prey on that situation, right? Be a toxic relationship. And so that was like the big kicker, that I was like, all right, I have to get out of this.
That's amazing that you had that analytical ability to stand back from yourself and look at it in that way. And be that objective. That's incredible.
Yeah. Thank you. But like, otherwise I was like, all right, I can just see my path and I can see my pattern. And, there were a lot of steps I had to do. It wasn't overnight. It's not, you just wake up, because then and be like, okay, I'm fine now. No, it doesn't work that way. And then you get an outbreak and then you go back to that. And then you go, it's a whole awful cycle that you just get stuck in and sucked in. And so that's really, my focus here and your focus here and our goal here is the sooner we can get people out of that Eeyore phase and back into their life and actually realize that herpes had nothing to do with what put them in that phase, right? We take herpes and make it our glass ceiling. So it is, oh, well, I can't go to college because I have herpes. No, before it was herpes, it was, I can't go to college because whatever. Something else. I can't become a firefighter because that's been my dream since I was a little kid, because now I have herpes. And if I get an outbreak and I'm in a burning building, and that might really not work, that might not feel well. So now I can't be a firefighter. No, nothing to do with it. It was something else. And I'm using real examples that I've heard from people. I talked to someone who dropped out of college, and it absolutely broke my heart that happened. I've talked to people that have, they've never gotten in a swimming pool with their kids because they thought that it could be transmitted that way. Yeah. And I know you're a mom, and like, there's nothing better than Marco Polo. I mean, it gets a little old after a while, but there's nothing better,
Yeah.
And to think that like I let the stigma control my life, decide what I was going to do and not do, and eat and not eat, and date and who I wasn't going to date, and this and that. And I was like, I cannot let this control my life anymore.
Yeah. I mean, you're such a good example, and other women that tell their stories and kind of are active in the herpes community, such great, kind of examples, role models to look at and say, okay, she has been there and she knows what it's like. And what did she do? How can I just kind of emulate her and be like her, because I want to get there. That's where I want to get to. And so, I mean, you speaking out, talking, and others who do that, I just have such admiration for, because you are making people think differently. You're really making them fundamentally, kind of want to and see a path towards real change. And it is right here. Life is lived right here.
100%. Yeah. I went for a run this morning, and I haven't gone for a run in 5 weeks. We were just talking. I've been on vacation and I hadn't gone for a run in 5 weeks, and it didn't feel good. And I was like, it was back to the mental thing. Like, it's all mental. I can do it. I exercised, like I didn't run. Right.
Yeah.
I was like, man, it doesn't feel good. I'm like, it's all mental. It's like, it's just a mental game. I wanted to stop. Of course I did. I wanted to go get like a cup of coffee and just go to brunch. Right. But I can't do that every day. So, but
what do you think it is? What's the trigger or the impetus that you've heard of people who've either listened to you or you've talked to, or people that are like you that, kind of got you over that first hump? Because maybe once you're, over that hump, any behavior change is kind of, and this is more of a mental behavior change, but what do you think it takes?
Well, what I have found is when people try to do it alone and they like, I don't want to talk to anybody, I don't want to share my story. When people try to do it alone, that's where they get stuck in Eeyore. And up until, I was diagnosed in 2011 and I started Life with Herpes in 2017. There really wasn't that much of a platform. If I even wanted to, maybe 2015, I could have started it, maybe 2000, but like social media wasn't what it was.
Right.
Zoom kind of existed, but like all these things didn't really exist. Now going forward, it's so easy for people to connect on whatever, herpes, not herpes, whatever it is that you want to connect on. So thank goodness now that we have this opportunity and in the way technology is today to be able to connect virtually. And it's also not as taboo. There are multiple people that are speaking out about it now, which is awesome, right? So my number one thing I would say is find a community and find others that are like you. Find the community that's like you, that you feel comfortable in. You may go to a group and be like, that's not my group, but this
Yeah.
is my group, or that's my group. And the sooner you can find a home, the sooner you'll get over it. Because there will be those nights at 2 a.m. where you wake up with an outbreak, or there will be those nights when, you know, you have a new partner and you just had sex and you're like, oh my gosh, I woke up with an outbreak. What do I do? And you need somebody to talk to. You need family.
Yes.
You need that. So if someone else to go, I know exactly what you're going through. Here's what we've done, or here's what I've done. The other thing, so one, find a community. Number two, I would say figure out your triggers and figure out what works for you to get over that outbreak as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So outbreak prevention and outbreak, I guess, clear up.
Management. Yes.
Management.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great. You know, I mean, I love the community statement. And never before, as you were talking and you were talking about, you know, even just a few years ago, social media connection and you know,
Couldn't
thank
do
you,
it.
COVID, because
Yeah.
COVID actually gave us this is the ubiquitousness. I mean, like everybody is on video now. You
Yeah.
know, it used to be like, okay, maybe I'll talk to somebody on the phone, but you know, it was kind of an unusual thing to be on video calls. Now it's just an everyday occurrence. And so, you know, people are happy to do that. You can have these sort of meetings, whether it's a bigger group or a one-on-one group, and connect that way. We have believed, you know, the power of numbers. And people, you know, just the mental construct of not feeling alone and knowing 1 in 6 women has it has got to, like, that we just keep, like, you know, kind of parroting that every time we get the opportunity, is to say 1 in 6 women has it. And because most people really still don't know that. People with herpes don't all know that, and certainly people without herpes don't know that. And so we just want to shout that from the rooftops, and then go find those people so that you can commiserate, feel better, you know, you've got your support group.
And not make, like, because okay, the outbreak is painful. Like, there's no way around that. Like, it's not a fun couple of days. Fine. Like, we all can agree. But then just realize that, like, okay, this is part of life. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, because there's so much shame associated with sex, right? It's wrong to have sex, or it's wrong to enjoy sex, or you need to be married to have sex, or you should, or, you know, all these whatever
false narrative.
False narratives. And if we were raised in the Western culture, I can only speak for the Western culture. I don't know other
that's true.
But we're raised to believe that it shouldn't necessarily be a fun thing. It should just be between a spouse, you know, and that's that. And so it's not realistic, right? And sex ed is taught that, oh, well, just use a condom and you're fine. That's also not realistic. And it's also false, right? Like, people truly believe, oh, if you just use a condom, you're fine. I've always used a condom. How did I get this? Well, let me tell you, I was just talking to a friend I haven't talked to in like 10 years. And he's like, I always used a condom. I don't get it. And I was like, okay, so let me explain. Here's what happens. But back to, like, how do you get over that hump? How do you recover? I mentioned definitely getting the management part down, but there's 2 things I believe that really need to happen internally. Number 1, obviously find the community, but that'll help you. But number 2 things, and it really will take work, and you'll go up and down with it. It'll be like a roller coaster, but you need to take responsibility for your actions. It's so easy for us to be, you gave me herpes. You did this to me. You didn't tell me. You lied to me. The breaking of trust, the betrayal, the this, the that, the that. When at the end of the day, I made the choice. I made the choice to have sex, right? Even if it is with someone you trust or not trust, or know or don't know, could be married to, not married to, whatever the situation is, I made that choice. So I need to take responsibility for my choices. And the sooner we get out of, and it's okay. Like, I understand, like, you want to be like, you know, like, why did you do that? And I get that. And there's a day and a place for that. But if we stay in that spot, that's when we don't get over the hump.
No, and that isn't that true for everything. It's like,
Everything.
yes, of course you're going to be mad. Of course you're going to
Yeah.
feel like you want to blame for some time, but you're right. If you stay there, I mean, there is nothing empowering about a victim mentality. A
Right.
victim mentality, you're by definition, if you're feeling victimized, that's what you will be.
Mhm.
You are whatever you think you are. And so
Totally.
if you do what you say, take the responsibility, you're back in a position of control. And
Right.
I always think, God, to be in control is where you want to be. You want to be
Right.
driving your own bus. So
Exactly.
I love that. I love that.
Exactly.
I think that's
And
really good.
it goes in waves, right? It takes time. All those things take time. And then because you can run into that person and you can see them, and then or you see that person dating someone new and you just want to go run and tell that person, like, don't you realize that person, whatever. Nope. It's their choice. They get to make their own decisions, and they're choosing to do that. The
Yep.
next thing that I really, 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 really recommend is practicing forgiveness. So forgiveness
Mm,
to that person and forgiveness to yourself, right? So forgive that person whether he or she knew or did not know. It's very clear they may not have known. Very
right.
clear they may have thought I did everything I thought was to practice safe sex, or not. They may have known deliberately and not cared.
Yeah.
But forgive them for that because they had something else going on that led them to this, and then forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Like I can't beat myself up for the choice I made, right? Whether it
Yeah.
was a good choice or bad choice, I made it. So
Yeah.
forgive myself.
Yeah.
May make a different choice in the future. That's the choice I made then. So forgive myself.
Yeah.
Um, so following those two things, well, a community and following those two steps and just continuing to go over those steps. And it might be a daily practice. But as soon as we get out of that, it,
Yeah, no, I think that's brilliant, and it's so nice and kind of simplified, and so completely on point. Completely nails the dealing with outbreaks, trying to prevent it and then manage it a bit as best you can so it goes away quickly, and then
Mhm.
just the mentality of moving from the, oh God, I feel so bad, and oh, I feel so angry, and blaming, and
Yeah,
why did they do that, why me,
yeah,
to okay, and just either I made a mistake, or I did something that I'm sorry it happened, but I'm okay, and moving forward, here's how I'm going
yeah,
to manage it, and here's who I'm going to be.
yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah.
And
And
these are the choices I made. So here I am today,
yeah.
because we so easily get in that mindset of like, I want to go teepee their house, or, like, let's egg them, or let's, like, or I want to sue them. And I'm like, okay, back up. Right.
I know.
So
There may have been some case in the news that encourages that.
totally. But the sooner that we can get out of that phase
Yes.
and just move on with your
Yeah, I
life.
think, lack of forgiveness just balls the person up who's
Yeah.
feeling, who's holding the grudge, who's holding
Give,
the anger. Yeah.
gives them the control.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So, and then the other huge, huge part here, as we're talking about, of course, is where you come in, right? The
Yes.
FemiClear.
Yes.
I got my little FemiClear
Oh,
here.
very nice. Very nice.
Yes.
Yes, we love our little
So,
package.
yeah. So I love this. I know you can get it in CVS. I've seen it in CVS. You can get it on Amazon. Um,
It's in Walmart too.
it's in Walmart now.
It is,
Great.
yeah, and Rite Aid, and
Rite
it will
Aid.
be going into Walgreens as well. So,
Awesome.
yeah, so we are really, excited about it. The tough thing is, because this is kind of the first OTC treatment over the counter. It's not obvious where it would go, because there's not
I
really a
know.
home for it in the store. So it's merchandised in most stores near the condoms.
Okay, so
So
it moved. It wasn't like, or it wasn't like,
it
was
has
it
always been like near the condoms in
Okay.
Rite Aid. It's near the yeast infection treatments
Okay.
in the feminine health, but for in most of the stores, it's near the condoms. So in the sexual wellness area, near Plan B, and the
Oh,
condoms.
perfect.
So yeah,
Perfect.
we learned from consumers that that's kind of where most people would think to look for it if they knew about the product. But anyway, that's where to go. Go
That's
that section, because it's a
that's where
pretty
to
big section, but it's a pretty small box, so you might have to look a little bit for it. But But it can be found there. It can be bought on Amazon, of course. But yeah, and we always want to hear from people who've tried it, and to know how did it work for them. We've gotten a lot of really positive feedback. We did a study to show that over 90% of people get less pain, burning, and itching. I think it was 88% of people had a shorter duration outbreak than normal. And like over 50%, I want to say 57% of people, when they used it at the very first tingle, before anything had really formed, it actually prevented a blister from forming. So, over half of people, if used that way, didn't get a blister in our study. So again, we've done a lot of studies, but we nothing works perfectly for everybody. So we always like to hear from people, hear what's helpful and what recommendations they have.
Yeah. And it says right here on the front, like kills 99.9% of the herpes simplex 1 and 2 viruses. So yes. A lot of, which is awesome. And also people like, but I have oral, or I have genital, or I have something down there. Which type? Does it matter? It does not matter. It's something that you apply topically. I like the way it smells. It's a very fresh smell. It's very lemony. I just think it's a fresh smelling. I think it's like a nice, I like it. And what I like too about it is it's compact. I can throw it in my purse. I can travel with it. No one, if they come across it, they're not going to know what it is. Right. That's also important, right? We want to be discreet about it. It's not this like huge prescription thing that you would see in someone's purse and be like, oh, right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I just think that it's great for reoccurring outbreaks. And like we were saying, when you get so getting over the herpes thing, when you don't have an outbreak or don't have any prodrome symptoms, you're like, fine, this is great, whatever. And then all of a sudden you feel it and you're like, it's like, I like hear like the Jaws music in my head, like Donna, like it's coming back. I'm back. So the sooner we can have solutions to just mentally handle it, I think is always a great thing.
And feel prepared. I think that's just it. It's an easy thing to have in your medicine cabinet. It's got 3-year shelf life, so it's not going to go bad. And if you have that Jaws thing coming or the tingling coming, you can just use it quick. And hopefully you'll be in the 50% of people that don't get an outbreak after all. And if not, hopefully it'll be, a much shorter duration than you're used to. But again, we have heard great things so far. We're still, it's only been on the market for a year. So we're still welcoming, of course, of all input and comments that people have.
Yeah. So this is a great solution. I'm really glad that I was introduced to it. And it's all ages. You don't need to worry about, just use it. It's not an issue.
Yeah. There's no drug in it. There's no, it's
natural. There's like
natural.
2 ingredients, right?
Correct. Yeah. Well,
3.
Yeah.
I'll read it. Beeswax, oatmeal, essential oil, and olive oil. So all natural.
Very simple. Yeah. Very simple.
I've been learning a lot about beeswax actually, and it actually, I didn't realize, but it's extremely like hydrating. It's soothing. It offers, it's an anti-something, antibacterial or anti-micro. So it's an anti, it's like anti this, anti that, anti-inflammatory. It was something anti.
Yeah. And our main purpose for putting it in there is to thicken the product. So when we oxygenate the olive oil, it becomes an ointment, but it can be, especially if it gets warm, it can get a little runny. So we've added beeswax to thicken it to some extent, just so it's a little bit more, consumer friendly. But yeah, I've heard good things about beeswax for other, kind of more functional purposes than just that. So So it's, again, the formula, it works. And so, we hope we can help more people. And I hope you keep ringing the bell and saying your, and telling your story. It's just so helpful what clarity of thought process you have and how you got yourself after 2 years in the Eeyore state to come over to the light and kind of just take back the reins of your
Exactly.
own. Yeah.
Exactly. No one else is going to do it for you. And so you have to do it.
Yeah.
And if getting herpes is going to cause you to get, because I talk to a lot of people, and when I say, but was your life really on track? Like, was there something else?
Mm.
Was there another issue going on? I actually boil down to things happening in our life into three phases or
Mm.
three different categories. And the three are sex, money, or food. We have or have had issues in one of the three or all three or two of the three at different points in our life. And
Sure.
so a lot of times when you look at a herpes diagnosis, whatever is going on in your life will fall into one of those three categories. It
Yeah,
all
no,
sums up to those three.
that's really interesting. Yeah, because those are, they're sort of things everyone needs to some extent or
Yeah.
another, and they're not always as straightforward and simple to navigate.
Mhm.
And it's that's really interesting. I've never heard that before, but I
All
am
three.
glad to hear it from you now.
All right, Caroline. So how can people find FemiClear or find you or locate? What do you recommend is the best way for them to purchase this? Do they just go into the store? Is there a website?
Yeah,
What do you?
FemiClear.com.
Okay.
FemiClear.com is our website, and we are coming out with a new one in a few weeks. But also, if you want to find it in stores, CVS, Amazon, like I said, we have Walmart, Rite Aid, going into others as well. So, but you can find where all the stores are on our website.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Caroline. I've enjoyed this talk.
Me too.
I've enjoyed learning about how you started this, what kind of the makeup is, and of course, our journeys together in breaking the stigma and helping people get back to their beautiful lives.
Absolutely. We so appreciate partnering with you, and hope we keep on doing it. And tomorrow, National Herpes Awareness Day. Super
I
excited
know,
about that. So
I
hope the
know.
word gets spread.
It will. It
Yes,
absolutely will.
excellent. Okay, thanks, Alexandra. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Caroline. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.